Chapter 5. Mike and Beth drove back to Beth's cabin and went inside. Beth took out her phone and saw she had a couple of bars, so she opened her contact list and dialed a number. Mike only heard her side of the conversation. "Yes, I was out of cell phone range. I just got back." "What? Are you sure? What about the injuries?" "Okay, thanks." She hung up the phone, and Mike asked, "What did they say?" "They both died from an aneurysm." "An aneurysm? That can't be. It looked like someone beat the hell out of them." "I agree, but that's what the coroner said. He said Corinne White died from an abdominal something or other aneurysm, and Andy Barber died from a cerebral aneurysm." "Did he say what caused it?" "He doesn't know yet. He's waiting for the toxicology report. He should have that soon." "What about their injuries?" "He will let us know when he gets his reports." "Where did they take the bodies?" "They're in Roanoke," Beth said. "We should go there and talk to the medical examiner in person. By the time we get there, he should know more." "We can't do much from here right now anyway, so let's go. I'll drive." "You don't like my driving?" Mike asked. "Are you kidding? You either drive like an old lady or Mario Andretti." "I don't drive that badly. You just like being in control, which you can't do from the passenger seat." "Are you a forest ranger or Sigmund Freud?" "I'm a park ranger, not a forest ranger." "Whatever." They walked out to Beth's car. It was a blue Ford Edge. After they got inside, Mike said, "I thought you FBI people all drove black sedans." Beth started the car, looked at Mike and said, "I hope you don't get all your information from television shows." "Of course not," Mike said. "Just the important stuff." Beth smiled and then shook her head. "Well, if you fail as a park ranger, you can always get a job as a comedian. I'll save you a seat in the front row. You can tell people you were in the Army and you were a ranger. That should impress them right off the bat." "They should be impressed," Mike said. "I was trained to be able to arrest an Army Ranger." "That seems hard to believe," Beth said. "Are you telling me you have arrested Army Rangers?" "No, I said I was trained to be able to arrest an Army Ranger. So far, I've never met one who deserved to be arrested. I hope you never will." "Are you worried that I can't handle myself?" "I didn't say that." Mike decided to change the subject and said, "You know, we haven't eaten all day, and I'm getting hungry." "I'm hungry too. I'll stop somewhere soon." 10 minutes later, Beth got off the highway and pulled into a McDonald's drive-thru. "McDonald's?" Mike said. "I was thinking a little better than that. I just thought we could get a little something to hold us over, or did you want me to look for a fancy restaurant where you can get steak and lobster?" "That would be great," Mike said. "I'm sure the FBI gives you a nice little expense account. So, do you want a Big Mac or a fish sandwich?" Mike sighed and said, "You're a cheap date. I guess I'll have a Big Mac." "Good choice," Beth said. They got their food and were back on the highway 5 minutes later. Mike took a bite of his burger and said, "Thank you for lunch. It's your turn to buy next time. Do you know any good restaurants that serve steak and lobster?" "Oh, you can join me on that comedy tour." They arrived at the coroner's office a little less than an hour later. They went inside and asked to speak with the medical examiner. After a few minutes, he greeted them and invited them into his office. He was about 40 years old, of average height, with hair cut very short. It had receded quite a bit, but he did not try to hide that fact. "You're here about the 2 victims from the park, right?" "Yes," Beth said. "Corinne White and Andy Barber." He found their files and opened them. "I just got the toxicology reports, but haven't had a chance to look at them. Give me a couple of minutes, please." "Of course," Beth said. He looked at the report for Andy and then checked the report for Corinne. He looked back and forth several times and then wrote some things on a piece of paper and thought for a moment. Beth and Mike looked at each other but said nothing. Finally, he said, "I told you on the phone that both the victims suffered an aneurysm. The cause of that was extremely high and prolonged levels of adrenaline. What caused those high levels of adrenaline is still unknown. The victims had trace amounts of several toxins in their bodies. Keep in mind that almost all humans have trace amounts of several toxins, but some of these are elevated higher than normal. The ones they have in common that are slightly higher than normal are lead, mercury, beryllium, and one that is not in our database. None of these by themselves could cause what we have seen with these victims, except maybe the unknown compound. It is also possible that certain chemicals in combination might be the culprit. Unfortunately, there has not been widespread testing of the effects of different chemicals when combined. Or, fortunately, if you are the test subject, Mike said. Touché, said the medical examiner. What about the cuts and bruising? Beth asked. Oh yes, he said. They each had the other's blood and skin under their fingernails. Mike looked at Beth and back at the medical examiner. You mean they fought each other? It would seem so. I would guess that their elevated adrenaline levels, or whatever caused it, amped them up so high that the slightest disagreement turned into a slugfest. That probably caused their already racing hearts to pump harder than their arteries could handle. There was a third person who didn't have the same symptoms, Beth said. I can't explain that, the medical examiner said. That person must not have been exposed to whatever caused this. Perhaps they were separated at some point. The meteorite, Mike said. When they saw the meteorite crash, perhaps Corinne and Andy went to check it out, but Emma stayed behind. Maybe she was scared to go into the forest at night. That makes sense, Beth said. I think you might make a good investigator someday. Thanks a lot, Mike said. Doctor, do you think a meteorite could cause the high levels of toxins in their systems? Beth asked. I'm no expert, but I would guess maybe some of the heavy metals. What about the unknown chemical? I couldn't answer that. You would have to ask an astronomer or geologist or whoever studies meteorites, he said. Thank you so much for your time, Doctor. You've been a big help, Beth said. When they returned to the car, Mike asked, if Andy and Corinne got into a fight, how was Emma involved? How did she end up falling down that hill? We may never know that. Perhaps she tried to break up their fight, and they turned on her. Maybe they chased her into the woods, but collapsed before they could reach her. I suppose that is probably what happened, or something similar, Mike called Superintendent Johnson. Hi, Mike. What did you find? He asked. We just left the medical examiner's office. We learned that the two victims we found died from aneurysms caused by excessive adrenaline. Some unknown combination of heavy metals and or toxins caused that. The medical examiner said they had low levels of several heavy metals, along with a compound that they couldn't identify. We believe they witnessed the meteorite strike the other night and went to check it out. It's possible that something in that meteorite is affecting animals and people who get too close. Maybe the dead bear got too close to that meteorite. If that's true, we could have a major problem here, Johnson said. I think you should close down that section of the park, sir. I appreciate your concern, son, but that is a big step. It's early June, and we will have a horde of hikers coming through here soon. Should I tell them, sorry, I know you've been hiking for 6 weeks, but you have to turn back now? What's more important, their hike or their lives? Mike asked. You're right, said Johnson. The welfare of the visitors and staff is my top priority. The problem is, I have people to answer to. I need more evidence. For now, we will increase patrols and inform people to be extra vigilant. Once I learn the bear's cause of death, I will make a final determination then. When will you know? Mike asked. We should know something by tomorrow morning, I would imagine. Okay, please let me know as soon as you know something, Mike said. When they got back on the road, Mike said, so I guess this means you'll be leaving. Leaving? Why would I leave? Because it's pretty obvious that nobody was ever here to kidnap Emma Drake. It's obvious to you, but somebody could have injected them with something. Mike looked at Beth and said, You don't believe that. You just want to spend more time with me. Don't flatter yourself, Beth said. I just want to see this through. Mike just leaned back and smiled. Beth looked at him and said, You can wipe that smug look off your face. I am not staying because of you. If you say so, Mike said and smiled again. Beth just shook her head but said nothing. Hey, turn left at the next street, Mike said suddenly. What? Why? Just turn. Beth turned left and asked, Where are we going? I just remembered that steak dinner I promised you. I believe it was steak and lobster. I know a good steakhouse up the road here, but I don't think they serve lobster. Sorry, we'll have to get lobster another day. Beth smiled and said, Well, If I have to, I guess I could settle for a plain old boring steak dinner. It won't be boring because I will be with you. That sounds like a treat too good to pass up. Mike looked at Beth and said, I can't tell. Are you serious or being sarcastic? Yes, Beth said. Mike drove to the center of the business district and parked in front of a place called the Pampered Cow. It was sandwiched between a pastry shop and an antique store. The Pampered Cow? Beth said. Supposedly, the meat is better from cows that are well cared for and free from stress. I suppose they give them massages too. Of course, you can't be a pampered cow without massages. I'm sure they also get pedicures. If I were to guess, though, I'd say they probably buy their meat from the same wholesaler as every other restaurant. The place was relatively small, with only about 10 tables. The hostess asked, Do you have a reservation? No, we don't, Mike said. I was hoping you could squeeze us in. The woman looked at her computer screen and said, I have one table available near the kitchen. Is that okay? We'll take it, Mike said. The woman picked up a couple of menus and led them to a table near the back of the dining area. She put the menus on the table and said, Your server will be with you shortly. Beth looked at the menu and said, Steak, but no lobster. I'm giving you a C+. Mike said, That's disappointing. Is there anything I can do for extra credit? They were interrupted by a young woman who said, Good evening. I'm Jenna. I'll be your server tonight. Would you like something to drink? Beth said, I'll have an unsweetened iced tea. Mike said, I'll have the same. Okay, the server said, I'll put that in for you. Do you have any questions about the menu? No, I think we're fine, Beth said. When the server left, Mike asked, You don't want a beer or a glass of wine? No, I only drink on weekends. Really? Why is that? When I was a teenager, I made a promise to myself that I would only drink alcohol on weekends. Today is Sunday. It's still technically the weekend. I don't consider Sunday evening the weekend. So why did you make that promise to yourself? Because both of my parents were alcoholics. I saw what alcohol did to them, and I didn't want to go down that road. Oh, so you figured you could never get addicted if you had no alcohol 5 days a week. That was exactly what I thought, and it's worked so far. How are your parents now? My father died about 5 years ago. One night, he went out drinking with guys from work and wrapped his car around a tree. I'm so sorry, Mike said. Thanks. Some good did come from it. He didn't hurt anybody but himself, and my mother hasn't touched a drop of alcohol since that day. Do you see your mom very often? No, not really. She still lives in Florida. I made it down there last Christmas, but being a rookie, I don't get a lot of vacation time yet. I would like to visit her more often. She is a good person, especially now that she's sober. You know, just because I'm not drinking doesn't mean you can't order a beer. Well, actually it does. I made a similar promise to myself when I was young, Mike said. I promised I would never drink alone. Why did you make that promise? Beth asked. Well, I think it was the first or second time I went to a bar with friends. I remember seeing several guys drinking alone at the bar. I remember feeling sorry for them and thought, I never want to be like that. Technically, you wouldn't be drinking alone because I'm here with you. You are right, and I could use that as a loophole, but I don't want to. To me, drinking alcohol is a social thing. Their server showed up with their drinks and asked, Have you decided what you would like? Beth ordered the filet mignon, and Mike ordered the prime rib. They handed their menus back to the server, and she left to put the order in. What about you? Beth asked. Do you see your parents much? Unfortunately, I have not been home since I took this job, but I have a vacation planned for the middle of July. I wanted to return for the 4th of July, but that is a busy time at the park, so I will go the following week instead. How was your childhood? Were your parents good to you when you were growing up? I would give them an A+ for effort, Mike said. We weren't exactly poor, but we had little extra money for luxuries, so I often went without things I wanted. Looking back, I realize I had 2 parents who loved me very much. It is something that many kids don't have. Beth put her hand on his and said, It looks like they raised a fine young man. I bet they are very proud. Her touch aroused something in Mike. He wondered if the touch was a deliberate show of attraction or something more innocent than that. She removed her hand, and Mike said, "Thanks. I bet your mother is proud of you, too. I mean, having a daughter in the FBI is quite impressive. I'd have a bumper sticker saying, 'My child is making the world a safer place. What has your child done?'" Beth laughed and said, "You are too funny. I don't think she has taken it that far yet." "Maybe not," Mike said, "but surely she has told everyone she knows." "I don't know. Maybe," Beth said, smiling. "So, do you work out of the Washington office?" "Yes, I have an apartment across the river in Alexandria." "Do you like living there?" "It's okay. Just okay. Honestly, I don't love it. It's just convenient. If I could live further away from the city, I would." Their server arrived with their food and put it on the table. She said, "Is there anything else I can get for you?" "No, thank you," Beth said. When the server left, Mike said, "Life's too short to settle, Beth." "That's easy for you to say. You live where you work and work in a beautiful place. That is a recent development that I had to work hard to achieve. Do you think I didn't work hard to get where I am?" "No, of course you did," Mike said. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. It just seems like you have doubts about your career." "No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you. I hate to admit it, but you are not wrong. Sometimes I love my job, but other times I am not so sure. I feel like I am a bystander in my own life. I'm just waiting for circumstances to make things either better or worse. It's as if I'm sitting on a fence and need something or someone to come along and push me one way or the other. I hope that something or someone comes along soon and pushes you in the best direction for you." "Thank you, Mike. I hope so too." After dinner, Beth drove Mike back to his cabin. She leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. "Thank you for a nice dinner," she said. "I'll see you tomorrow." Mike got out and walked to the cabin, thinking about the kiss. It was on the cheek, not the lips. What did that mean? Was it a prelude to something more, or did she just put him in the friend zone? When he went inside, Dave was still up and said with a big grin, "So, I see you've been putting in some overtime with that pretty FBI agent." "Are you jealous?" Mike asked. "No, I already have a pretty girlfriend. I'm happy for you. I was worried that your last girlfriend might have ruined you for every other woman. Don't worry about me. I'm fine." "I'm sure you are, buddy. So, did you get some? What's wrong with you? We are just working together temporarily. I guess that means you struck out, huh? Well, there's always tomorrow." "I don't think so. I think her last boyfriend ruined her for every other man. She just broke up with him, and it sounds like she's given up on men." "That's normal after a breakup. It will pass. After all, a tiger can't change its stripes. She also lives too far away. The best I could hope for is a one-night stand. That's way better than a zero-night stand." "You have a good point. What would you do if you were me?" "If I were you, I would get a haircut. Other than that, just be yourself. You're a nice guy who can be tough when he needs to be. As far as women are concerned, you are in the Goldilocks zone." Falling Star continues on the next video. For more information on this book and others by this author, please visit charleshuss.com.